Hello, and welcome back to the Witches Brew podcast. I am your host, Amanda, and let's talk about some witchy things that I have on hand, as well as some things that I grow in my garden that I find very useful. All right, let's just get into it. So I have this kind of broken down into a couple different categories, and I will tell you my favorites and what I seem to gravitate towards the most. Also, what I find the most useful. So yeah, let's get started. Now, I have on my list here, starting with herbs and florals, which I feel like is going to take up the bulk of this discussion. So the ones that I use most commonly are basil, cinnamon, thyme, sage, rosemary, a ton of salt, pepper, clove, lavender, chamomile, and rose. Just for the list. Now, I will go down and kind of break this up. We can talk about some intentions. Basil and cinnamon are both really great for wealth and abundance. Cinnamon is going to be fast, so quick money coming in. Basil is going to be a little bit more slower, but I feel like a little bit more reliable when it comes to amount of money that you're calling in. I should have added bay leaves on here as well. Bay leaves are also great for adding money. Bay leaves are great for intentions. They're great for protection. I feel like bay leaves are such a versatile herb. I can't believe that I didn't put them on here. Some spirit over here, thank you for reminding me. Now we have thyme, sage, and rosemary that were next on the list. Now, thyme, again, is great for a lot of things. I find myself drawn to it a lot because I feel like it's very easy to get thyme, the herb, not the concept. I have been using this a lot for my road opener spells, for new beginnings. I've been kind of at a crossroads for a couple months now. I feel myself transitioning out of that. So I've been using a lot of thyme for courage. It has a bunch of other uses as well. That's just what I've been gravitating towards. Sage is really, really good for cleansing. I feel like that's the go-to herb for a lot of people. Rosemary as well, I feel like, is a go-to cleansing and protection herb for a lot of people. I find them both very beneficial. I would say I use rosemary a little bit more than I use sage. I don't do, not that sage doesn't have any other properties, but I don't do a ton of protection and cleansing. Probably should. But I do use a lot of rosemary for a variety of different reasons. I'm really tempted to pull out my herb book and just give you all of the intentions, but I feel like that would take a really long time to do all of them. So I'm resisting that urge. Salt is next on the list. I have two different types of salt that I use: regular white table salt and pink Himalayan sea salt. Both of them are great. I would love to get some black salt, which I'm going to try to find some in Salem, but they're both just so great at protection. I use salt in every single one of my spells and my spell jars. It's, I mean, fairly cheap to buy in abundant qualities. Or no, rewind. It's really cheap to buy in abundant quantities. And it takes forever to go through. Unless you're doing perimeter salting, which I'll talk about in a future episode when I talk about how I protect my home. I would say in the perimeter salting, I usually go through about a whole big thing of salt, like one of the giant boxes of salt. Again, just another fantastic use for salt. Also, I use salt in almost all my cooking and pretty much all of my baking. I just feel like it's so common. If you're not using salt, use more salt. Pepper is next, just black pepper. Again, cheap, easy to buy in abundant quality. I keep saying qualities. In abundant quantities. And also just really, really great for protection. Clove. I actually use clove, and it has, again, I just said I don't do a ton of cleansing and protection things, but now I'm talking about all of the cleansing and protection things that I like to use. But clove is something that I think I love to use more for protection than most other things. Whole cloves are great. Ground cloves are super versatile. My favorite season is fall. I really love to do fall baking. Even my winter baking involves clove in some way, shape, or form. I feel like clove is just underrated. Let's talk about some florals. Lavender, chamomile, and rose. I'm quite an anxious person. I don't know, again, just personally speaking, I don't know a lot of millennials that aren't. I don't know a lot of people that are living in this state of the world who aren't anxious. That's just people I know. But lavender and chamomile are so good at calming and cleansing your nerves and just putting your mind at ease. They are some of my favorites, and they smell really good. They taste really good. I feel like they're really versatile to find in a lot of different products. And if you listened or watched my last episode, I talked about my daily routines and rituals that I embed magic into, and lavender and chamomile are like some of my go-tos. Now, rose. I don't really like the smell of rose. That's just my personal. I like the smell of roses. I don't like rose scented products. Hope that makes sense. However, I use rose petals a lot in my spell work. They are very versatile. Sorry, tending to my Hermes offering candle. They are very versatile. Yes, they're great for attracting in love and romance, beauty, self-love, but roses also have other great qualities as well. Roses actually really good at protection. So And if you buy roses, or if you have, well, really, if you have a rose bush, the rest of the rose is so versatile as well. You can use the rose hips, you can use the thorns. Actually, thorns are really great in protection, or like hexes or banishing. Rose thorns are great. Actually, that reminds me, I need to go harvest some rose thorns to have on hand. All right, here are some honorable mentions that are not herbs. They are not florals, but they are cheap. They come in large quantities, and you can also find products with these things in them pretty easily. And those are oats, which I actually talked about a lot in last week's episode, and rice, which I also mentioned. Oats and rice both are great for wealth. They're also really versatile. So you can use them for a lot of different things, like a lot of different intentions. And you can use them for a lot of different types of spell work. I love oats personally because now that I think about it after filming and recording the last episode, I use a lot of oats. I consume a lot of oats, which I really thought that would probably go to rice, but that's not actually the case. But yeah, I highly recommend either of those. And if you need, I always say this, if you need the intentions for those things, Google them. A lot of people will ask me, well, what's the intention for that? Or what can I do with this? And you can just Google it. And you'll have a ton of amazing resources. Let's talk about the things that I grow in my garden. Now, some of these things we've already talked about in the previous list. So I'll just kind of gloss over those. But I can go into a little bit deeper dive on some of the ones we haven't talked about. This is just a little bit of what I grow. I'll have to do a video sometime of my garden. My garden's kind of a disaster. We just got a giant storm last night that had really strong winds and just flattened a bunch of my crops. So I have to go back through, put them all upright. It's going to be a process. But anyway, these are some of the things I grow. As far as herbs go, basil, thyme, oregano, sage, rosemary, and marjoram. I did not talk about oregano or marjoram yet. I do a lot of Italian cooking, which uses a lot of those herbs. Oregano, I don't use in my spells as much, is great for drawing in money. I just don't use it super often. Marjoram also has a bunch of other amazing qualities. I don't know why I can't think of any right now. But marjoram really enhances whatever spell work you are doing, whether you are doing kitchen witchcraft or traditional candle spells. I also find that all of those herbs are really easy to grow. You just need to remember to water them. You can also grow them inside, as long as you have a sunny place or if you have grow lights. You can grow them inside too. At the end of the season, I'm going to be cutting down a bunch of those herbs. I forgot to mention parsley. But I'm going to be cutting down a bunch of those herbs and doing a video, not a podcast, but a video on how I dry my herbs. So you can see what that process looks like as well. It is so, so, so easy to do. Just requires some patience. You don't even need a dehydrator. All right. I grow lavender, chamomile, and I have roses. I have I have 2 rose bushes and I have a climbing rose. So again, I already talked about how diverse roses are. And honestly, if you're leaving them outside, they're pretty easy to grow too. You just let them do their thing. I water them fairly consistently the first year that they're planted. I start off with every day for the first like week and a half. It depends on how hot it is. And then I'll water them every other day for a little while and slowly extend that so they're getting used to the regular, rain. And they will do just fine with rain once you get them established. I also am growing hibiscus this year. I've been really, really wanting a hibiscus plant. I finally got one. It is absolutely gorgeous. And hibiscus flowers are really great for connecting to the divine feminine. They're great as flowers to use for offerings. They're also great in spell work for beauty or self-love. Someone also was over here saying protection as well. I'll have to look that one up. Just gorgeous plant. Now, granted, they will not thrive in all zones because they are more of a tropical plant, but you can find some variety types for your zone. Just make sure, do the research. All right, so moving on from that, I also grow a bunch of berries, blackberries, raspberries, and strawberries. Mostly because I have a toddler that loves berries, and berries are expensive, so why not get my own plant? I grow a variety of peppers, both sweet peppers and hot peppers. This year I am planning on doing my own hot pepper mix for chili flakes, which I'm very excited about. Also, I do cucumbers. Forgot to mention dill. I don't really use dill a lot in my spell work or really in my cooking either. I do grow it because I make my own pickles. That's really the only reason. Honestly, my husband uses it in his cooking more than I use it in mine. This year I'm also growing, peas, string beans, kidney beans, and snow peas, as well as sweet potatoes. And I need to get my potatoes up and running at the time of recording this. Oops, I should have done that last month. But I'm also growing a bunch of flowers. This is my first year really growing a bunch of flowers that aren't marigolds or calendula. Marigolds and calendula are also really great. Calendula is really good at bringing in happiness. However, I'm also trying my hand at growing larkspur, yarrow, petunias, snapdragons, echinacea. I'm doing pumpkins again this year. Pumpkins are really great for wealth. You don't have to grow the ones that are giant, like the carving pumpkins. I'm growing smaller ones. I'm trying the Jack Be Little. Those are the little orange pumpkins. I'm also trying the little white pumpkins as well. And I also have a gourd mix going. Let's see, what other flowers am I growing? Stock, asters, 4 o'clocks, zinnias. I have a ton that are growing right now. I'm also planning on planting sunflowers as well. Believe it or not, I don't actually have a ton of space to garden. I just try to pack as much as I can into a small amount of space. So moving on from herbs, because we just spent like 20 minutes talking talking about herbs and flowers. These next, like the next bit of the list is, although there's a lot in there, it is actually shorter than the herbs list. So for crystals, now this list changes depending on what I'm feeling pulled to or called to. Lately, I've been called to a lot of malachite and labradorite, but those actually aren't on the crystals that are like my most used. My most used ones would be clear quartz, which amplifies intentions, obsidian for protection, smoky quartz protection, amethyst that provides psychic protection. It also helps you connect more to your spiritual abilities, I guess I'll put it. Green adventuring, which is great for drawing in money. Citrine, great for happiness. And I don't know why I have clear quartz on there twice. So those are the ones that I use the most. And again, I'll feel called to different crystals at different times. A couple months ago, when I was in the midst of running the musical, I was really called to blue lace agate because I was stressed out. Now that it's summer, I'm called more for stones for happiness, for travel, stones that will help me slow down and just find joy. I feel like everyone has chime candles on their list, but here are my favorite colors: black, white, green, and orange. Black and white are really versatile. Green and orange are actually also surprisingly versatile. Again, I put orange on there. I've been doing a lot of road opening, a lot of new beginnings. Orange candles are great for that. Also travel, things like that. Green, again, good for money, wealth, but also has a bunch of other qualities. I always have, and I didn't bring it down for my son's room, I always have on hand a white pillar candle, one of those like big 7-day candles. And that is how I cleanse my home. One of the main ways, I'll say. You can buy just a regular white pillar candle. Again, if you feel called to that, I'll be doing a video on that on the regular YouTube channel coming up soon. If you don't feel comfortable buying a prayer candle, just a white pillar candle is fine. Moving on from that, I recommend having one book on herbs and one book on crystals. There are so many books out there. Find what works best for you. I will sing the praises of these two books until the cows come home. And that's the Crystal Bible by Judy Hall and Cunningham's Encyclopedia of Magical Herbs. The Encyclopedia of Magical Herbs doesn't have everything, but it has a lot. These two both have so much information packed into their pages. These two books never, ever make it back onto the bookshelf. They are just, their home is perpetually on my desk where I do my recording, I write my spell work. They're just always out. And I always also have them up in case a client needs some recommendations. They are just, I can't say enough good things about them. And I will also have an episode coming up in 2 weeks about Witchy book recommendations. I'll talk a little bit more about each of those during that episode. So, last couple things. I really love having a lot of different jars around. Some of them small, so I can do my spell jars. Some of them really large, so I can keep my rose petals or something in them. Just a variety of different shapes, a variety of different sizes. You don't have to go out and spend a bunch of money on jars. You can just get them from the dollar store, or you can get them in bulk. I use them so much. And last, this is actually my psychic medium edition. Something for divination. Whatever divination you feel called to, whether that is runes, which I would love to get into runes, or the pendulum, or I guess no coin, oracle cards. I gravitate towards tarot cards. I always have at least one deck out on my desk where I record. All of my tarot cards are actually behind me. And I think right now I have 3 different decks upstairs in different rooms. I have one sitting on the kitchen table. I have one in the guest room. My husband is actually really sick right now, so I'm trying not to catch his cold. And then I also have one in the master bedroom. Not to mention all the ones that I have down here. We'll talk about divination another time, a little bit more in depth, but whatever you feel called to. And if you don't feel called to anything right now, that's totally fine as well. I know this is my longest episode yet. Very exciting. Thank you for hanging in there with me. I hope you found some useful information. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, you can type in a comment under the YouTube video. You can send me an email at thewitchesbrewpodcast@gmail.com, or you can comment on any of my social medias. I am the Deity Medium 444 on TikTok and Instagram. I will let you all know when I have the podcast, Instagram, and TikTok up and running. But thank you so much for watching or listening. Thank you for spending your time with me, and I will see you again next week. Bye.